This is the learning progression that I used last year for the first time, and then found it to be successful or descriptive enough, so I'm going to use it again this year. Our level 3 is I can describe and build something to be pushed or pulled while holding a pumpkin at least 1 inch above the ground. Of course, we do have a level 4 where we can describe how to change the pumpkin pusher puller for a new situation. So if we wanted to challenge kids, we could always ask them, so what would you have to change for this design if it were going to be pushed down a small incline? Or how would you have to change your design if it were on carpet as opposed to a tabletop? Any of those things where they can describe the changes they'd make. Of course, for those kids who feel like they're not able to design and build something that can push it, we can ask them, can they describe through words, pictures, or writing their ideas for something new, so a new thing that's created that could be pushed or pulled with the pumpkin. And if we need to go all the way back, our level 1 is I can name something that already exists that can hold a pumpkin while being pushed or pulled. I do really like the learning progressions because for those kids who are like, I don't have an idea, they can think of something that a pumpkin could be placed in that would hold a pumpkin while it's being pushed or pulled. A basket, a wagon, a pail, any of those things. So those kids who are stuck can be reminded of things that they already know. And then they can be pushed to think of different ideas for something new, and then we can get to the designing and building. The first year when I did this, it was my first year in the role, and not all of our students had a lot of experience with quick design and prototype and engineering, building, using different materials that we like to use, or even hot glue guns. So when I worked with the second grade classes, I wanted them to work in pairs and have a plan ahead of time. So our second graders have a writing unit for writing scientific lab write-ups, scientific writing. So I wanted to model that, where on the paper they were prompted to have a plan where they could draw it and label it. But then I asked them to list the materials that they were going to need and the equipment. Then on the back of their lab sheets, asked them to record the adjustments that they made as they were building or as they were testing, and we had lines in case they wanted to write sentences about that or explain why they made those choices. Found that last year, then this took us 2 days. So this year, in discussion with the second grade team, I wanted this just to take 1 year. Our students were much more familiar with engineering and building. They're more familiar with the tools that we're using. So this year, we kind of simplified what's going to go into their lab notebook. They're still recording who they're working with, and they are making a plan. And then we're just drawing after the building or the testing. So I think this is going to be more successful. The kids can make their recordings on this page, and then this can be glued into their science notebooks after the fact. We don't have to spend the time gluing it in ahead of time. Also, as the students are building, I've found that our students do really well if I give them a checklist with the criteria. So this is just a little strip of paper that reminds them that it needs to be 1 inch above the floor, that the sticker on the pumpkin can be seen, that their object can be pushed or pulled. And I call it a hands-free pumpkin because, I don't know, it was going to be too wordy, and these are second graders, where the pumpkin needs to stay on the thing that they build. And we figured that hands-free was good enough verbiage for that. So this is my cart ready for the pumpkin pusher puller parade. I will show you what all I have on there. So on my cart for the pumpkin pusher parade, a number 1 ingredient for this would be pre-cut pieces of cardboard. I'll probably find some more boxes and chop some more pieces up, just because these are great building materials. I've got long ones, I've got wide, fat ones, just an assortment, and of course I usually keep lots of extra pieces around, but it's easy for the kids to cut up and modify how they need, and also very cheap building material. Down here on the bottom, I've got a tray of like paper products. So of course the ubiquitous tubes, old tape spools, because I don't throw anything out in this roll. I also have smaller pieces of cardboard in case the kids need it, so they're not cutting up the bigger pieces. Then I can be smart about the resources. A couple of little paper cups and the soup bowl frozen yogurt cups. Those are always great to use. Pipe cleaners, because what engineering challenge is complete without pipe cleaners. My little bin of metally things. Sometimes there's pieces of wire that I've cut up on here that are easy for the kids to cut with scissors, but also manipulate. Usually some binder clips, and of course paper clips, and then also some random metally doodad things that I've picked up at Walmart. Weird paper clips, just stretched out paper clips, just any weird metal things that I've kind of collected. I've got my wooden bin, so I've got 2 different sizes of popsicle sticks and clothespins. Yeah, because you never know. Straws and Q-tips are in this bin. I do have straws that have already been cut, so I've got short pieces of straws. I've got full, long, bendy straws. That's the bend. I do also have coffee stirrers in here. Not that any of these things are must-haves. I just like to have options because I never know what the kids are going to drink up. I've got a bin of what I would consider bigger plastic things, and for this thing I combined the foam and the plastic things. So these are just kind of like larger bits. Sometimes there are recycled apple juice cups, other times it's actual drink cups, weird plastic trays from packaging. I've got some bubble wrap pieces in here. I've got parts of egg foams, old planter pots, just weird plastic things that I haven't allowed to be thrown out. I also have the small plastic bin. I used to just have one bin of plastic things, but I'm finding that this is better if I separate them, because the small things like caps, which the kids might want to use, they get buried in the big things bin and they don't see that they're there. So having a shallow one for the small pieces and then a deeper bin for the bigger pieces seems to be working out better. So, I'm certain I'll have thoughts on that later. Little cups, of course the caps, always the caps. Some weird foam pieces, just little itty bitty bits that I've got. Small pieces of packaging. I've got some non-skid like shelf liner, just because, I throw it in there. We'll see if the kids use it or not. I've got the weird cardboard or paper forms that are already formed. Colleague had done a closet reno and had a whole bunch of these tubes for part of the closet shelves. So I've cut them up into different sizes because I've been storing them for almost a year and hadn't thought of something good to use. So I've got different sizes of these in here. Do have some paper plates, some coffee filters. I also threw in, someone had given me a whole big package of the Starbucks cups, so I threw some of those in, and I had long tubes of this rolled up cardboard that were left over from some packaging, so I decided to slice those up and see what the kids will come up with. I don't have them prepped yet, but this is my new favorite thing. I have these bins that I got at the dollar store, but I'll use these as masking tape holders just so that the pieces of masking tape can be ready for the kids. Of course I'll have rolls so that if they need longer pieces they can get those, but I think this will save them a lot of time and me some sanity by having at least 4 of these covered with masking tape ahead of time. And I do have tin foil just in case the kids want it, but I'll have that in the roll and ask them to get an adult to help them with that. And of course, the hot glue guns. At this point, the second graders who are doing the pumpkin pusher puller have already had experience with using the hot glue guns. Not that they believe me when I say, no, this stuff dries really fast, you can't do the long lines, just do it like you're welding, just put globs and smash it together. We'll keep working on that. Maybe eventually they'll believe me. But I've got 10 of these low temp hot glue guns, which, by the way, do dry very quickly. You can't use them like a light blue or dark blue one or even the high heat ones. They just almost instantly dry, which means they're safer for little fingers, but can be frustrating if you're used to the higher temp ones. I do have extra extension cords. I've got my bin of hot glue refills hooked to my cart. I've got my extension cord reel so I can make the hot glue gun octopus. And I should also mention I've gotten a new thing. We'll see how it works out. I've gotten these silicone pads, and I'm going to, I think because they're the dark black, I think they'll stand out against any of our floors, because we have a tendency to choose beiges or the, you know, like mixture brown or the primary colors. I think this will stand out. I'm going to ask the kids to always keep the hot glue guns on these. This is really nice because the hot glue, when it drips onto it, because hot glue always drips, peels right off. But I'm also hoping that it will kind of be a home base for the hot glue guns. And then when kids are working on the floor, they're going to be less apt to accidentally put their hands on it, because as they're reaching for stuff, hopefully it'll make it be a distinctive thing so they'll see it. So that is all the stuff that I have on the Pumpkin Pusher Parade cart for this year. We'll see. I kind of think this is representative of what all the classes will have, but certainly, you know, depending on inspiration and what stuff comes across my recycling may change what I put on the cart, because I just never know what the kids will want. So these are the pumpkins which we use for our second grade pumpkin pusher pullers. I have always opted for what are called pie pumpkins, and typically they come without stickers like this. They're kind of, I don't know, a little bit larger than a softball, maybe like personal watermelon size. Now this year, I had trouble finding enough of just the plain pie pumpkins, which you can get on sale around this time of year, you know, 3 for $5 or about $2 a piece. I did see them at Walmart for $2.75 a piece. But when I went to Kroger, they didn't have enough of the just plain ones. So I had to supplement with some of the ones that came with little decorations on them, and those were a little bit more expensive, almost $3. But with the ones that were plain and the ones that already came decorated, I could get enough. And then this becomes a good way for me to give the kids a landmark where they can't cover up their pumpkins so much that the sticker can't be seen, because we want them to build things where the pumpkins will balance on without being entirely covered.
It's going to be pushed or pulled?
Both.
Oh, let's see. Nice job, guys. Thank you. It's going to be pushed or pulled?
Both.
All right, let's see it. Nice. It looks really good, boys.